Hey, welcome back to the Filmmaker's Formula. I just want to say a big welcome to all the new people that joined. Hey, it's great to see you here. How's your day going? Good, I hope, because I'm about to SwitchPod it up. I just came back from VIDSUMMIT. I had a blast. I made a couple new friends, and I got a couple free gifts, like a pair of sunglasses, this SwitchPod, and the flu. For those of you that don't know what a SwitchPod is, it's kind of been advertised as a replacement for the gorillapod. The general problems people usually have with the gorillapod is having to set it up. Sometimes it's not stable on the ground or on a tree. You gotta turn all those little circles. And if you're a tad bit OCD like me, all the circles have to be straight, or else what are you doing? All right, back to SwitchPod. Some basic things you should know. The idea was conceived at VidSummit. The project is made by Pat and Caleb, and it can quickly switch from handheld to tripod. That's all cool and all, but my question is, how strong is this thing? In the Kickstarter video, there was one part that interested me. It's a scene where they put a bunch of weights on top of the SwitchPod. So let's actually test this thing out. So here's the little corner I set up to conduct our experiment. I'm just gonna set down this little piece of wood, so we'll have a nice and stable surface. Since there's a little screw here where you would normally put your plate, I'm gonna put this tiny little weight on it where there's a hole in the middle so we can get a nice even surface. In the video, they started off with 25 pounds. So then, it was at this point where I realized that that tiny little center point isn't gonna hold all that weight. So I decided to upgrade that to a piece of wood that would spread the weight around a bit. Just so you know, a normal DSLR is like 2 pounds, and with a large lens on it, that's like another 2 pounds. An EOS C100 is like 2.2 pounds, and a Canon 80D is 1.6 pounds. I can't think of any camera that would be this heavy unless you're putting a whole cameraman on a SwitchPod. Then we can argue that would be 180 to 200 pounds, depending on his diet. Okay. But it took a lot of weight. I'm gonna have to tally up that score. Did it break? Ooh, it did. Seems to have snapped at the hinges. Ooh, made a nice mark there too. It's still kind of functional. Doesn't stand up anymore. That is where it broke. Snapped off of there. If we tally up the weight, we have a 1.25 pound plate, 2 45-pound plates, 2 25-pound plates, 2 10-pound plates, and it broke right on that third 5-pound plate. That gives us 176 pounds, 0.25. The SwitchPod really took a lot of weight and abuse before it broke, which is really good for a tripod. I know my gorillapod definitely wouldn't have been able to take that weight on it. All right, come on. The only other problem I can see with it is putting it on uneven ground. But unless you're using like a small camera, I don't think you should be putting expensive and heavy cameras on unstable surfaces in the first place. We're not all Casey. You could always glue some Joby pods to the bottom of the SwitchPod. I mean, that'll solve your problem. But for me, I think the biggest problem the SwitchPod solves is that it being able to go from shooting mode to handheld mode in like a second. Because with a gorillapod, I'm always having to like crumple it up, and I just end up always not filming. In regards to the twisting, you could add another ball head on top, one that you already own. I did get a chance to talk with Pat, really nice guy, and he did say they were working on some attachments, so I'd look out for that. All in all, it's a pretty good product. I mean, as long as they're not putting that much weight on it, I think you're gonna be okay. Go out and buy one. I know I'm gonna have to buy another one.